Jerrel from Sungrand here, and today I'm working on the Silver Falls Ruby River remaster. The game was originally a 3DS exclusive game. I'm remastering it for the Nintendo Switch due to popular demand, and especially for people in Europe who didn't get a chance to play the game on the 3DS. So this is part 2 of this series. What we've worked on in the first part was just quickly going over where we can put new biomes into the environment. I want to make the environment of Ruby River more varied, so I'm creating biomes that have their own specific looks to them in terms of the foliage and the terrain. In the original 3DS version of Ruby River, we can only have the sandy texture and the cliff wall texture. So I'll also be, now that I have higher resolution terrain maps, I'll be straightening out these edges here and get things to look more organic and realistic in terms of a terrain. In the original version, believe it or not, I think the resolution for the terrain maps was maybe 128 by 128 pixels. It was extremely small, but it was necessary in order to get the game running on original 3DS hardware, which was an incredible challenge. It was satisfying because I'm a massive 3DS fan, and being able to create a game like this for the 3DS was a dream come true, really, because I would have loved to play a game like this on the 3DS. Okay, so right now we're creating this little inner biome here. This is going to be my little forest area in here. And I'm just going to plan out, so we're going to have like trees, and so I'm going to have like a sort of wet area in here as well. So I'll go ahead and switch to this. So around here we'll be like a wet, real wet area. Today I'll just be working on adding more details to the terrain, making the terrain more varied and interesting, and creating those biomes, and I'll be sharing the experience with all of you. So I hope the music is soothing and interesting to you. People have been asking me for the soundtracks, so I am preparing the soundtracks for Gaiden, Deathly Delusion Destroyers. Well, any game that comes under the Gaiden banner generally will share the same soundtrack, but preparing that, the Ruby River soundtrack, and the Guardians and Metal Exterminators soundtrack, and then hopefully I can share that with you all pretty soon. The way that I'm distributing those is I want them free online so anyone can just enjoy them. I'll have them on the YouTube channel. I'm researching what are the least hated music services out there. I know I don't keep up with all of those things personally, but I know there's a lot of reasons why people say don't use Spotify or you know, whatever particular service. I like to understand the implications of aligning yourself with a particular service or business, and I don't want to align myself with companies and services who don't conduct themselves in a way that I would agree with. So that's why it's taking so long. It just takes a lot of research to get those kind of things right. And I, at the moment, have been dedicating all of my time towards development, so I haven't had much time for doing the sort of the market research there. So hopefully I'll be able to get to that pretty soon here. So I don't want it to look too wet, you know what I mean? Because if you promise people puddles of water and then you don't deliver on those puddles of water, I do know that generally you're going to lead to significant disappointment, and people generally are just going to say, you know, I was promised puddles, I'm not seeing the puddles, so I'm disappointed with the marketing, it was not honest. So I just want to make sure that, you know, don't overpromise your puddles is all I'm saying. I really like the way this catches the light, so what I'm going to do is just turn on the light simulation in our world, and you can see how that sort of catches the sunlight a bit. There we go. And that helps your terrain stand out. That's really nice. That's quite pleasant. Now you can imagine all the trees and the bushes in there and everything. Let's go ahead and start getting some rocks in here as well. So I'll disable that lighting, and I'll get I want to just fill in more variety in the terrain now, so I will do a bit more of this around the terrain. increase my brush size again. So, and this will be the inner forest. I really appreciate everyone who has been still enjoying Ruby River and Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers. These are the two games that I made under the most amount of pressure in terms of time and development, because I realized I was making a game that the engine was not designed to make games like this in terms of stability of the engine. I was asking a significant amount. The 3DS could have done so much more than what I was able to do, but I didn't have access to any other game engines for the 3DS, so I did the very best that I could with these tools. And with Ruby River and Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers, I was asking so much of the engine, and it really, these games are walking a very thin line between just crashing outright and not working at all. So the fact that it works at all is really it's really quite exciting that they work, and that I'm so grateful that people are still enjoying them. There was so much more I wanted to do with these games. People send me pictures of stuff that they're building in Ruby River, and I just want to give people more. I want to give people more environments to build, so it feels rewarding and interesting when you build different structures in the different biomes. In Ruby River, I know I don't like saying negative things about anything in particular, especially games, but for Ruby River, unfortunately, I could only have one tree type and one terrain type, because if I had added even one more icon, I had more buildable objects that I had to remove from Ruby River, because even just having that one extra item and the one icon to represent that in the menu caused the hardware to crash from the strain of memory, just too much memory pressure. So unfortunately, to be honest, I'll have to say that when you build something in Ruby River, it just feels a little samey no matter where you build it, and I didn't really have a choice, So with this remaster of Ruby River, I want to give people a greater sense of variety, and it'll feel more rewarding and more fun. You could say, oh, I'm going to build a forest house. Oh, this is going to be it'll be my lake house. I'll build that on the lake over there. We can have a house on the river. So I want more variety in the foliage and the terrain types, just so it's more interesting and more satisfying for people to enjoy it. It'll give people a reason to sort of wander and explore more and look for more environments to see what they can find. I will be adding Code Linker in as well. So Ruby River on the 3DS only had Code Linker out, so you could unlock content in other games. I've recently finished remastering Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers for Nintendo Switch, and that now has Code Linker connectivity with Ruby River. That's how close Ruby River was to not even launching on the 3DS. I launched Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers, and I didn't actually believe that I would be able to make Ruby River work, because it was so technologically demanding. Or not technologically, but technically. It was technically demanding, just in terms of actually getting it to stay stable on hardware. And so I didn't actually believe, when I was working on Guardians and Metal Exterminators, I didn't believe that I was going to get Ruby River to work. And I didn't think I'd be able to make it as fast as I did. So that's why the original Guardians and Metal Exterminators doesn't have Code Linker connectivity with Ruby River. But I fixed that. So now there's one of the cryptids from Ruby River will show up in Guardians and Metal Exterminators, so that's fun. Put two puddles there. Let's get some puddles over here. Okay. The music that's playing now is the nighttime music, which I really enjoy doing. That sort of creepy, atmospheric, tense music. That was very fun to do. some people have asked if I could make videos, you know, sort of discussing what it's like porting a game that uses 2 screens and redesigning it for 1 screen. So I'll do separate videos on that, but that's a very good question. It's an interesting topic, and it's a fun and frustrating challenge, and I honestly 100% did not believe ever that I would port Ruby River or that I would bring it anywhere else. I 100% did not think that, but there's been just so much demand and so much support for Ruby River, and I just want to give people something more, you know, and especially for Europe, because Europe wasn't able to get the game. So it's I leaned in really hard with the touchscreen interface on Ruby River, and I didn't plan to ever have to bring it to a single screen. So I'm having to put in a fair bit of sort of design conceptualization in order to adjust the control scheme to where it feels natural, and it doesn't feel like the controls in the interface are getting in your way, because you don't have the touchscreen, which is a bummer. But also, I need to design it in a way that you can still use the touchscreen in handheld mode. And if people are familiar with the game, I don't just want a totally different control scheme that feels wrong, you know. If you've played a game for, you know, how many hours, and we all have, we naturally know how to control the game, and suddenly if the controls change in the game, it just doesn't feel right, you know. And that's something that I'm trying to respect as well, as there's going to be a lot of people out there who know how to control this game really well, and I need to be able to create a control scheme that feels right for them. But, you know, keeping that in mind, there were a lot of buttons on that there control on the touchscreen. There were so many buttons on there. Everything was really touchscreen driven. Okay, so I've put in a little bit of grass here, but I want to dial it down a little bit. You know, I was just trying to bring in just a little bit of variety. Let's see, we have the edges here. This is a pretty big biome, honestly. It's going to be a big forest, huh? We sort of have this, each biome kind of has its own sub-biomes inside of it. So, you kind of hear from people sometimes that say, oh, just use procedural generation and just get the game to make it automatically for you. You could do that, but I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I have direct control over for the things that really matter in your game, things that are bespoke, especially your environments and your world. I just want to make sure I have a personal hand in all of that. It's totally fine to use procedural generation for that stuff, especially if you're creating like massive, you know, huge environments. But for me personally, it just helps me feel that connection to the world, and it helps me see opportunities for creating interesting design in some places. For example, if I see a little pocket of an environment somewhere and it just looks charismatic and interesting, it helps me think of things that I could put in there, little surprises and rewards for players who go out and explore and find this little pocket that just happens to look really fascinating. If you are just using procedural generation for everything, you really lose a lot of those opportunities. So for me personally, and I like being able to just create by hand. That's part of the art of it. You know, you get to what you feel and what you think, and your experiences all become a part of what it is you are creating. And so that's why I like to just not use the procedural generators. I do use, for example, procedural generators when I'm starting some of my terrain environments. I use World Creator, and that's because it helps me create realistic looking topologies. But World Creator also has a number of tools that help you, after you generate that, to create a bespoke environment. You can create paths and trails, and you can control all of that from, you know, very fine detail. So that is the kind of procedural generation that I do use, is where it just helps you get started with a base. It's like a base coat of paint, and then after that you can do more work to get exactly what you want out of it. We could actually even deploy this to hardware, and then we can walk around, and we can even do that. So we might not do that in this video, but maybe in the next video in this series, as I'm trying to make this, I'll record as much of this as I can, you know, as you know that people tend to get a kick out of it, and as a gamer, I really enjoy seeing behind the scenes on games and developers talking about it, about the games. You know what really fascinated me? I'll share a little bit of personal information with you. Something that just really captured my imagination was when Game Freak showed, it was like 1.5 seconds. They were showing them working on Pokemon X and Y. It was their first 3D Pokemon game, and for 1.5 seconds they showed, I think it was Pikapek? Is it one of the bird Pokemons from X and Y? They showed them working, I think it was in Maya, and they showed a split second of it. It was like a wireframe or some kind of version of it, and it just captured my imagination. I could not stop thinking about, you know, like, whoa, what else are they working on, you know? And I was kind of thinking, I know how to use Maya, so I should be able to make a game too. And it was so fascinating seeing just even a split second of that, and I just wanted to see more. And I was like, please, I need to see more about how you guys are making these games that I like. So I think this is just an interesting way to share the experience with people. And it's, you know, I always enjoy hearing from people, hear their thoughts on the games, and you know, little aspects about it that they're really enjoying, things that they find fun or funny. So this is the kind of work that it'll take a lot of attention, because you can see that really even just that it's a big game, you know. And if you want things to look organic and natural, there has to be a significant amount of variation in your terrain like that, you know. You can use that sort of as part of an effect of horror if you have an environment, you know, where your game has set a baseline standard of variation and a sense of natural aesthetic to it, and then if you suddenly throw the player into an environment that looks artificial, where there isn't a huge amount of variation, and that's jarring, I think it would be a great way to build a sense of horror, because then people think, oh, okay, something's not right here, this isn't right at all. I think it would be a very fun way to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to ramp up my opacity a bit, just so I can work a little faster. You know, I'm kind of looking at the work that's ahead of me. By the end of the workday today, I will have the entirety of this. I'm just going to go Terminator mode. I'll have the entirety of the environment filled out with details. And I'll probably just create videos the whole time so you guys can watch and comment and hang out. I will even do these upper areas, but I do also need to add more terrain on the edges, so that when people do climb up there and build their structures, that it looks more natural and you can see terrain in the distance as well. So I'll be working on that. So there is a significant amount of work to do here, and I originally, you know, didn't have plans to bring Ruby River to the Switch, because I am working on Diamond Island, but there's been so much demand and so much support for Ruby River, so, you know, I thought it'd only be right if I you know, really listened to what people are asking for here. What if I Sorry, I wasn't sure. Okay, so I think that's all we have time for this video, so I'll go ahead and end this video, and I'll start recording on part 3 as well. So I'll post one a day or something, and then you guys can just hang out, watch, and comment. So thanks very much for watching. I'll enjoy your coffee. And until the end of the year, everything is on sale at the Silver Falls Sungrand shop. So I'll go ahead and put that on the screen again, why don't you? Everything's on sale, 20% off until the end of the year. Go ahead and grab yourself your Maverick D Moose mug. You can get yourself first aid juice, stay healthy. And also people have been asking about the Holt jackets. They are 20% off, So that's a huge discount on those. These are Australian prices. You know, American dollars will be less. So yeah, and you know, I was kind of thinking of getting myself an Allagash lumber shirt. I order proofs of most items, but I have to pay for the proofs. So we'll order proofs from a particular manufacturer just to make sure their manufacturing is okay. And if I see that they've manufactured one item all right, in general, I won't buy the other items from them. So, okay, hey, thanks for hanging out, and thanks for watching. Be safe out there, and I'll go ahead and stop the video here, and I'll start recording part 3. So, be well, and I'll see you guys again pretty soon.